Facing up. As the latest phase of ICAC's public hearings concluded today, politicians have had to face hard evidence of their blurred responsibilities, their parties, their donors, their constituents, their governments and ultimately to the law. Senator Arthur Sinodinos, former Treasurer and President of the New South Wales Liberal Party, today declined to take responsibility for his party's use of its federal Free Enterprise Foundation to channel $700,000 of prohibited money from property developers. Senator Sinodinos' future in politics now rests with the final reports of ICAC expected in January next year. Now there are calls for a federal ICAC after the money trail exposed here went across the state border to the national capital. The exposure of the dark side of state politics over the last 5 years has been historic. In this round, New South Wales Labor's once most powerful figures, Eric Roosendahl and Joe Tripodi, were alleged to have been the virtual agents of billionaire Nathan Tinkler, pushing to expand his coal empire. There was the shock in May at the fall of Premier Barry O'Farrell, who delivered the greatest coalition landslide in the electoral history of the state in 2011.
And I promise we won't let you down.
Barry O'Farrell resigned when he had to admit having given false evidence to ICAC over a bottle of Grange sent to him by a Liberal lobbyist. Today, Craig Bowman, the member for Port Stephens, became the 10th Liberal MP to be implicated when he admitted having taken money from property developers Hilton Grugeon and Jeff McCloy. And later in the witness box, Senator Arthur Sinodinos sidestepped responsibility for the use of the party's Free Enterprise Foundation to channel prohibited donations from property developers by saying the legality of such donations rested with the party's agents, not him.
I'm glad to have had the opportunity to speak to ICAC today and complete my evidence. My family have been in suspended animation for 18 months through this whole process.
Exposed by ICAC has been a web of cross-party connections. You can see the connections at the click of a mouse on this ABC website. Arthur Sinodinos, former confidant and Chief of Staff to Prime Minister John Howard, had reached the pinnacle of power. But when ICAC started tracing the multiple business interests of Labor power broker Eddie Obeid, the trail of connections led to Liberal Party fundraiser Nicholas Di Girolamo. Di Girolamo had recruited Sinodinos to head Australian Water Holdings, a private entity trying to win a public-private partnership to take over Sydney Water cash flows in northwest Sydney. Called to ICAC in April over AWH's alleged scamming of Sydney Water through excessive charges, Sinodinos could not recall key items of expenditure and had no knowledge of AWH donations to Liberal Party slush fund entity 8x5.
I'm not into speculation, I'm into the facts.
Today, ICAC was winding up its public hearings in Operation Credo, AWH, and Spicer, prohibited slush funding through Liberal Party entities. These hearings are the 15-year culmination of the work of investigative journalist Kate McClymont, who had a breakthrough 2 years ago when she obtained a document detailing the vested interests of Obeid Corporation.
The breakthrough came through when Moses Obeid, the son of Eddie Obeid, tried to avoid paying $16 million he owed to the City of Sydney, and in doing so he tabled financial documents. Those financial documents were dynamite. They showed a series of trust companies, and they also showed links to a coal mine and to Circular Quay leases. So that was the big breakthrough as far as investigative journalism was done.
The key thing is that we need a national ICAC, we need uniform electoral funding laws, and there is a gap in the framework, and that is at a federal level.
Watching all this has been the New South Wales Greens Senator Lee Rhiannon. Once, as a state upper house MP, Rhiannon established the website Democracy for Sale after retired academic Norman Thompson volunteered to research the Australian Electoral Commission funding declarations by laboriously phoning companies listed to find out what they did. He then categorised them into industry and lobby groups.
One turned out to be a large property developer in Adelaide. giving it to the New South Wales Labor Party.
In 2002, Norman Thompson was the first to establish that New South Wales property developers were bankrolling the Labor Party, paying more to Sussex Street than affiliated trade unions.
Well, it makes one wonder if you're in government, perhaps you get more donations than if you're not in government.
Now, in 2014, with ICAC exposing deceptive practices by the Liberal Party, Rhiannon says the investigation should be extended nationally.
Labor and the Coalition shouldn't be waiting for the ICAC recommendations. There's clear things that they need to act on now, and the Greens are calling on the Prime Minister to instruct his party to wind up the Free Enterprise Foundation. I mean, its fingerprints are over so many of these dodgy arrangements. This funneling of money back into New South Wales from donors that are actually prohibited to give money to political parties in this state is highly questionable. Looks like it's illegal, maybe it's a grey area, but that's no excuse. And it's something that I'll be taking up when the Parliament resumes.
Fiona McLeod SC, a leading barrister, says a procedurally fair federal independent commission against corruption is now justified and in the national interest.
What the community needs, in my view, is to be assured that our institutions are operating appropriately within the law, that decision-making at government level is not influenced by those with deep pockets, and that they are free of corruption. When you have decision-making being led by those who can pay, our confidence in our politicians and their decision-making and our confidence in democracy is eroded. And that's why I believe you need a federal corruption commission.
People are living in fairyland if they think that corruption stops at state borders. The ICAC has done a really incredible job of exposing monumental corruption in both parties, in both Labor and Liberal. And now we've just seen 10 Liberal MPs embroiled in the illicit donation scandal. We're looking at 1 in 5 of every member of the New South Wales Liberal Parliamentary Party has become embroiled in this scandal involving illegal developer donations.